Thank you so much, Mr. Mehmet Mirat. It was really an informative session from you. Now I would like to invite Mr. Asdaa Kotani, Institutional VP, Institutional Sales at Springer Nature. So over to you, Asdaa. Thank you.
Thank you. Günaydın. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here with us. First of all, really, thank you, Murad Bey, and the entire TÜBİTAK team for great, really work, high level of professionalism. This agreement wouldn't have happened without the hard work we all put into it. And I think it took us almost 2 years of negotiating this agreement. And I think you've alluded to all the challenges. And I think that one of the biggest challenges was how successful Turkey is in research output. Yes, because your numbers are staggering. And every time we look at the numbers, and I think now it's a nice problem, but it's a problem, due to funding and everything else, is how much can we actually push the coverage to try and make it suitable to your demands. And I look at around the room and I see so many familiar faces. So I would like to believe that we have a long history in Turkey, Springer Nature. And throughout this history, I hope we demonstrated enough that we always try to be helpful, and if it works, we make it work. So with this spirit, inshallah, we'll carry on and solve these minor problems. So my job today is to try and tell you more about Springer Nature. Now, I hope you all know who Springer Nature is, but just to give you more of a perspective in terms of the total volume. So we handle almost 1.5 million of manuscript submissions every single year. We publish more than 400,000 articles, if it's in open access format, if it's behind the paywall, regardless of the discipline. Content download, we almost reached 3 billion last year. And we published 13,000 books year on year. And we have more than 750,000 reviewers who help us to obviously make sure the quality of the content is maintained. We operate in 4 separate divisions. So we have research, education, health, and professional. We belong to the research division, so everything you know about Springer Nature belongs to the research division, and that's what we will be focusing on today. Now, obviously, our mission is to open doors to discovery, so we would like to be an integral part of the whole research process. We would like to be there, making sure that we, support the research journey from having an idea for research to conducting the research, writing your paper, submission, finding the right home to your manuscript to be published. And that's basically what we try and aim to achieve. Our values is, and we demonstrate this every day, working in partnership with our communities, have a immense drive to change things. You mentioned the mobile and how we used to organize going out and socializing. Things has moved beyond a certain limit, and we try to always have the drive to do so and have active change. We run as a responsible business, so you can see so many initiatives we do globally that we partner with to make sure we run as a really responsible business. And obviously all these brands, so Springer Nature, Nature, Macmillan, all these brands sits under the umbrella of Springer Nature as a big holding company. We have more than 9,000 employees, and we try to be across the globe if we can. So you'll see we have so many offices spread all over the world. If it's from Tokyo all the way to New York, we have a small office in Istanbul as well. And that's why Selina and Merva are based in Turkey as well, to try and provide local support whenever it's needed and to address market needs. And our main portfolio within research is our journals, which you will see in a second as well, books, and then databases, and some research services like solutions. The majority of these products you'll be familiar with. If not, obviously you can inquire about them. And we're very proud to be, the company who has Nature, obviously the biggest, one of the biggest scientific journals, more than the number 1 in terms of highest impact factor journals, more than, within the top 50 journals. BMC as the full open access portfolio we acquired back in 2000, and the Springer journals, and obviously our ebooks. And we're very proud that we align our research to the SDG goals. So if you look at now all the SDG goals and all the research assigned to the SDG goals, you will see the growth in terms of every single, of these 17 SDGs will have so much research behind it, and it's growing year on year. And now open science, obviously that's why we're here now. So we all know the future is open. So we all agree now the future is open. The question is, how long would it take to get to where we would like to be? But the biggest point is, and we've told this, for so many times, is people think open science starts with the publishers, yeah, and all the articles has to become open. That's absolutely a big part of it, but it's not only the only part. It's like a big machine, and research publishing is part of the machine. So you have to get everything from open code, open matrix, open data, protocols, all these kind of things. They work with each other. And hopefully by then, all research becomes open and all researchers, users can benefit from it. Yeah. Now, Springer Nature, I'm not sure how much can you see. Okay, it's clear enough. We've obviously pioneered open access from day one. Yeah, so from the acquisition of Biomed Central, which was established back in 2000, to the launch of the first open access journals, to all the transformative agreements, pioneering them back from 2015. We had the first open access agreement, TA, with the Dutch consortia back in 2015. And we've been leading the progression and the transformation of the agreements we have in the market to a real open world market if we can. And even when you look at the total, the fully open access publishers like MDPI and the Frontier, Springer Nature still has, much more downloads because of the volume of articles and journals we produce. How long would it take? That's the question now. I mean, we've seen a very rapid move. Yeah. So if I compare it to the move from print to online, from online, to the big deal in terms of how people used to access the data, and we take, the OA in perspective as well. I think now we are in the era of moving really towards solutions, and part of solutions is well providing services. Yeah. The biggest challenge would be, I mean, we looked at Europe and Western Europe. Obviously, you've seen how quick the transition happened towards TAs, purely because, and as the famous slogan goes, there is enough money in the system. Yeah. So there was always the slogan, there is enough money in the system. That's the Max Planck argument. Now the question is, obviously, once we started branching out of Europe, yeah, like again, Turkey, where you had a huge volume when it comes to the articles output, and you look at your subscription base and as well as how much actually possible to afford more funding, it's not an easy transaction. Yeah, there is multiple challenges which goes into it, which you have to address going forward. So there isn't enough money in the system. The question is, what would be the end game? And that's where we are now, the transition into a full open access world. So the journey continues. So I think, in the beginning, we start endorsing open research, then launching open access journals, then transformative agreements. We started transforming journals. So, we, within our hybrid portfolio, if a certain journal reached a certain percentage in open access, we have to flip it to fully open access. So that's all happening now. And I think the journey will continue the more we branch out to the rest of the world. Yeah, and also in Europe, you see now different pressures on different agreements. So I think it's one of those transition periods where there is plenty of learnings. Dialogue is very important. You have to talk to everyone, and you need to make sure everyone is involved as a stakeholder in the change making. I think my colleagues will speak a bit more about the portfolio within the TA agreement, but basically it's very simple as well. All the fully open access journals, and there are a list of journals which I think might be available on the agreement page. Those are not included in the agreement. The agreement specifically address those journals who sits in the hybrid portfolio. And the hybrid portfolio are the majority of the Springer journals. The Nature journals still out of the agreement, but I heard your comment and I'll keep it in mind. So we'll see what we can do. Okay. Now, obviously, being a publisher, we always like to remind people how important the publishing industry is. So we really believe that we are at the heart of the whole process. We are the custodians of, quality assurance. I think we play an integral part to make sure your research is visible to the world as well, and everything goes in between, peer reviewing, all these kind of things. And yeah, so we would like to make sure that we still believe, same for you, that we add value. And as I said earlier, we like to be involved, yeah, from the beginning of the process. So now you will see there's plenty of research solutions to make things easier for the authors to start conducting their research. Then they write the paper. We also have so many services, and solutions to try and help in writing the paper, how to publish, how to improve the quality of the paper. Then we make sure there is, the right journal to hopefully be a home for your title, yeah, regardless of the discipline or the quality. And then we publish it and make sure your research is used. Yeah, we would like to make sure our dissemination and making things available globally Yeah, and that's what we've seen this morning. And I hope Celine will show the stats and the figures. The citation downloads, really, it's unbelievable. I mean, within only 4 months of the agreement, to see all these nice high level of downloads and usage is extraordinary. And yeah, I think, again, Turkey has now joined the club of so many nations and consortia who are now within a TA agreement. Now, obviously, I think, which you will see as well later in the afternoon, if we will show the total usage, and you will see usage from known users and unknown users, you will see, for example, in the US, that the Turkish articles has been used with more non-known users, anonymous, meaning those are not subscribers to our content. We don't know their IP address. So they are from the public, from the industry, from healthcare, from corporates. Yeah. And that's what's really important, because it means they value the research and they are reading the research. So as you've said, it's moving forward, more and more consortia and nations, do the TAs. It's always easier when you do it with a national, regulator or organization like TÜBİTAK, because then the policy is clear, framework is clear, how you do things, the total public benefits from the agreement, so we see a better outcome, for the overall. Yeah, and as we said, the future is open. So Spring and Nature made the commitment that by 2024, which is now, so we still have a few more months to go, half of our portfolio will be fully open. And as I said earlier, the question would be, what is the end game? So the question is, if we are at 70, 80% fully open, what happens then? Yeah, and I think that's where the next 5 years will be crucial in terms of the numbers of total publications, total, let's say, open access agreements we have in place. And not just for books. Yeah, again, being a big book publisher, we start realizing that people also were keen on publishing open access books. Yeah, so not just an APC, BPC. Yeah, so it's books born open, they stay open for people to benefit from as well. What's next? I think, yeah, the subscription is still there. It's here to stay for a few more years. I think we see it now, the more we go east, let's say, or the more we go to the global south. So for example, places like India and China, who publish so many, but you look at their subscription legacy is low. So then the transition to a fully OA and transformative agreement might be a bit difficult. The question is how we can bridge these gaps. So there is plenty of thought leadership, discussions in terms of, models for a global south, globals for, different models for endorsing OA. And that's all happening all around the globe. And, as you mentioned, it's not a single issue for Turkey. It's a global challenge, which usually applies to everyone. Yeah, so I think we need to continue, the discussion. And we also need to make sure we always keep the author at heart. So in the end, it should be the author's choice. Yeah, if the author would like to publish in open access format or behind the paywall, it doesn't matter. In the end, it should always be the author's choice. Obviously, we see authors, they love being published and they love being published open because it gives them more citation, ranking, usage, and that's very important. Yeah, and I think that's my part. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, do you want me to take 2-3 questions because I'm not staying? So I'm so sorry because I have to leave. I have my flight. I'll leave in half an hour. So if any question for me, I can take it now. Otherwise, we'll do it by the end of the day. I was very clear, right? Oh, okay. About our plan? Anyway, how much more special? Well, you have to elaborate more. No, absolutely. So that's the discussion. Yeah. So I think to be honest, to solve the problem totally, very difficult because of your numbers. It's crazy how good the numbers are. When we had the initial discussion, can I say more about some percentages? When we looked at the existing funds and what could have been available, we were looking at a coverage of 22%. Now, 22% obviously is nice to have an OA agreement, but 22% will basically mean so many authors won't be published, and then it's a nightmare for TÜBİTAK for everyone. So we worked so hard to increase the quota. So we've agreed to start by 40, going up to 50 by year 3. And we've realized from day one, because of your growth rate, the 40 and the 45, the 50 won't represent 50 by 3 years' time. And I think now what we will do is we will look at, so part of the policy, the Q1 and 2, the preference for Q1 and 2 obviously is to address the coverage, because you have to have some limitation and restrictions to make sure things works. From our side, by now to the end of the year, we will try to see the projections in terms of at least Q1 and 2, where it might end up, compare this to the coverage percentage we have in the agreement, and then work with TÜBİTAK to try and see what could be done on a funding level. If we can increase funding, we match it with coverage. There will be some mechanisms we have to apply, but we need some more data because the agreement just started, but with the initial start is really promising, and we know it's going to be an issue. So we will do more, and as I said earlier, we so far demonstrated that we always try to help, and we will carry on with this spirit. Yeah. Yes.
Asdaa, thank you very much for your presentation. My question is about your view or your company view, either one, about alternative models like subscribe to open. What are the plans from Springer side about these alternative models?
Natalia will take this question because if I say something slightly wrong, I'm in trouble.
Hi. So subscribe to open specifically, we have sort of certain views on, but we are open to alternative models, and I will touch on one particularly that we are working with for the journal called Curious. But specifically on subscribe to open, we are always looking at the viability of certain models. And we don't see that subscribe to open is necessarily viable. It relies too much on essentially the kind of goodwill of the budgets. So we have seen that some subscribe to open journals have ended up having to revert back to subscription because institutions have opted not to carry on the subscription. And that's what we don't want to happen. We don't want to be in a situation where we have transitioned certain journals and then for those journals to have to revert back should institutional budgets not continue to support them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, again, we'll see how it goes going forward. I mean, we are exploring a few things in India purely because the volume in India and obviously affordability as well. The question is potentially from these learnings, because really it's a journey. We're learning as we go. What we can apply potentially to Turkey, for example, and so on and so forth. But we are working hard because I think, to keep things simple, to be honest, we are very keen on maintaining a high level of penetration when it comes to the OA world. Yeah, we want to be the highest OA publisher, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so we want to see these articles becoming part of the targets we set to ourselves of becoming fully open. I think there was a question. All good? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to Mr. Asdaa for such a great insight and for you two asking the questions. I hope Natalia can now come and inform you more about the transition to open science. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning or merhaba, everyone. That's, I'm afraid, the limit of my Turkish, so I will carry on in English, but very pleased to be with you here today. And I was here last year talking with TÜBİTAK colleagues and my colleagues about, you know, the transformative agreement and getting that up and running. So it's really great that we're in a position now that it's, you know, been so successful this many months into it.